Welcome to Residential Tech Talks. I'm Jeremy Glowacki, Executive Editor of Residential Tech Today. In this episode, I'm joined by Richard Glikes, the president of Azione Unlimited, a consumer electronics buying group that was founded in 2011 and has become a force in the residential tech integration business, thanks in part to Richard's passion as an industry leader, as well as the quality of residential tech integrators and manufacturers that he recruits to be a part of his group. Richard, thanks for joining me today. Even though you're not able to meet with your group in person right now, I'm assuming that you're as busy as ever keeping in touch virtually.
Well, actually, we're very busy, Jeremy, and thank you for having me. We're trying to, communicate. We have lots of activities for our dealers. There's, death by webinar going on, and we're part of that. And there's, vendor issues still, and in our group, the vendors are members too. So it's a nice balancing act, and that keeps us busy. We have lots of activities that we're doing. I think that people are bored. I think they're restless. And I think they're looking for answers. And I think we can approach those three items in a pretty efficient manner. And, we're working as hard as we've ever worked right now, maybe even harder. But, I'm big on creativity and ideas and also having fun. So we're trying to lighten it up a little bit. I think it's a very serious time, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but, it's okay to, try to put a smile on your face from time to time. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that's part of your MO there with the group, and that's great to lead that way as well. Before we get into some of those specifics, can you just give me an update from your perspective locally there in the Philly area? Every part of the country seems to be experiencing this in a different way. What's it been like there? I know it's better than it was in the 1918 Spanish flu, where Philly got hit the worst.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that, and I thought, well, that's a different era for sure. But obviously, the East Coast and the West Coast were the first to really see it. Are you experiencing it pretty much as you're getting close? Sorry,
it's a shutdown, Jeremy.
Yeah,
we're in what used to be the country. We're about 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia in the western suburbs, and they did a lot. The government's done a lot of things. We in Pennsylvania, the alcohol is sold through state stores. They're all.
Oh yes, I've heard of the whole deal with that.
Now, about a year ago, they started to let grocery stores sell beer and wine, but they're closed. We don't have any sports. We sit out front in an old house of a shopping center. Only 2 of the 11 businesses are open. So it's very quiet. The traffic going down the street, you'll see a car every 1 or 2 minutes where you used to see, constant traffic. So, it's quiet. It's very quiet. It's eerie quiet, actually.
No, you're still able to get out. I know we'd communicated a little bit when I had the local news that our golf courses were going to be open, but without flags on the greens and without cups, so you really couldn't putt. But you're a big golfer, so are you still able to get out and get some fresh air like that?
No, we are
not at all now.
Took away the NCAA tournament. You closed my golf courses. You took away the booze. I mean, kill me. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, luckily I'm a wine drinker, so that's worked out pretty well. I have a little wine cellar, holds a couple 100 bottles, and I'm going to survive. So no big deal.
Yeah. Well, I want to give you big credit because I was at a buying group meeting at the beginning of this crisis, and it was a little early. We weren't sure how bad it was. And while I was there, the news came out that you had postponed your meeting, your spring meeting. And I thought that was a really proactive step. It seemed to be ahead of a lot of other industry announcements that came right afterwards. So big leadership move, and it was a relief to me at the time personally, because I really didn't want to get back on a plane as much as I like going to your meetings. So credit to you for that. I know it's been challenging because those meetings are kind of the lifeblood of your group, but so are your virtual communications. So how have you ramped up in terms of virtual communication since that time?
Well, the first thing I did was I had a webinar that we maxed out. We have a capacity is, that we've signed up with GoToWebinar, and we pegged it. And it was, it was themed "Don't Panic. We'll get through this together." And that webinar basically was right before, oops, there's got my cell phone. Let's see if I can quiet that. So that was right at the beginning, and that's at the beginning of the CARES Act, just before CARES Act came out and things like that. And I think people appreciated the fact that we were proactive. We're trying to be upfront. We also felt that our vendors, who are equals in our group, really needed communication as well. So we've set up a thing called virtual firesides, virtual vendor firesides. And we have 6 vendors and myself, I moderate. And we ask them, how's life? Do you have any promotions going on? What's the inventory situation like? Do you have any advice to the dealers? And we've done them for 2 days now. Today will be the 3rd. And we will get through all our vendors in 3 weeks. And they've been very well received. And the vendors get to be in front of the dealers. The dealers, it's kind of folksy. And I think Firesides turned out to be a nice title for it, because you just feel like, we're all, like everybody hears this all the time. We're all in this together is no kidding. We are all in this together. And it makes them feel like, they're just not, just we're here for the money, and that's not what it is. But they've been very good. And, today we have one with 6 vendors. And again, next week we'll do 3 of those. And the following week we'll do 3, and we'll be through all our vendors. The other, about a week ago, we did a webinar, and we had all the TV vendors. Our 3 major TV vendors went through their lineups for 2020, because this is model change time. And we had, if you want to go through the list, I can tell you exactly what we've done. You tell me, Jeremy, do you want to hear some more about what we've been doing or not?
No, that gives me an idea for sure. I'm sure that the manufacturers, the vendors, are really grateful to have this opportunity, because I know that across the industry there have been various different attempts at communicating with dealers, but to be able to have a group like yours to be able to organize these and get the buy-in from the dealers, the integrators, to jump on, I'm sure mutually beneficial to both sides there. And I would just, it's just informational, it's helpful. Are you finding that there have been a lot of questions about the CARES Act from your membership?
Well, we hosted a webinar with Morgan Stanley, who's a partner of ours, and that was our initial one. Then we had 2 lawyers from Florida. One was a magna cum laude, and the other was a summa cum laude. I am always impressed by smart people, and they were brilliant, and they walked us through. The good news is people didn't really understand it at the time. This goes back about 10, 12 days ago, right when it first came out. One was on a Monday, the next was on a Wednesday. And they went right at it, and everybody applied. The good news is a number of our people not only have applied, but the money's in their bank. And one of our board members, one of our 5 dealer board members, the money has come through. And, we got a bunch of thank yous from our dealers saying, until this, I wasn't really sure if I should do it. This was the impetus to apply. And now the money's starting to come in, which is great, and then we had a webinar with just, with five dealers telling us what the dealer situation is. We had another one on cash flow and how to manage cash flow, which is really important this time. So, lots of good feedback from different angles, which is, I think it's like a dog with a new bone. You got to look at it from all sides. And that's what we've been doing.
Well, I definitely want to talk to you more specifically about what you're hearing from your dealers. But before we continue our conversation, I wanted to take a quick break for a word from today's sponsor, and we'll be right back with Azione Unlimited's Richard Glikes.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Residential Tech Talks. Real quick, this episode is sponsored by Modulus Media Systems. Modulus is the first ever all-in-one premium DVR for the age of streaming. It opens you to a world of incredible streaming features that bring TV watching to a whole new level. Check them out at modulusmediasystems.com.
Welcome back. We're talking with Azione Unlimited's Richard Glikes. Richard, you were talking about the conversation specifically with the dealers as well, and I wanted to hear, what you're learning from them as far as their specific challenges. It's hard to summarize, I know, because we've got different regions of the country experiencing shutdowns differently. They're fairly consistent now as far as what people are allowed to do. But, for instance, in a New York City market, you can't do anything. But maybe here in the Midwest where I am, you could still service clients. Obviously, remote service is key for a lot of integrators. But what are you hearing? Is there a way to summarize and generalize what your membership is experiencing right now?
I think one thing is consistent, and that is that clients sitting down with salespeople and principals to initiate new jobs, that slowed down a lot. There was a rush in the beginning on networks. There were a number of TV. People weren't using the third television, and now there's more people in the house, so they wanted that repaired. Networking was huge. And, a lot of service issues. And then jobs that were, in process needed to be completed. We have some dealers, it's Christmas right now, and we have others like New York City, like Miami, and other markets, Boston, they're shut down, period. They're shut down. You can't go out, you can't get into the buildings. So it's a variety. The good news is we are doing some business. The bad news is that the pipeline, which tends to backfill as we go on, is not. And so, I think I'm coining a phrase for this quarter. I'm going to call it the lost quarter, because I think this quarter we need to get out the big eraser. It's going to be pretty ugly, I think. It was a good start to the year. The last 2 years have been tremendous, best ever type months. And, even through March, we got through March with some nice numbers. We hit some nice rebates for the dealers, and they'll be getting some nice checks. I'm scared to death about what this lost quarter is going to be from a revenue standpoint, sales standpoint. It is what it is. We'll get through it.
Yeah, and it seems like there is. We've heard it a bunch of times now from everything we listen to. This is a different type of situation. This isn't a recession in the traditional sense, and the hope is that there's that pent-up demand, and folks who maybe couldn't get anything done before things shut down are just like, we've been in our home, we know what we want, we can't do it right now because we don't want any service techs in our home, but we're going to do it as soon as we're back to work. And so it's just a matter of when is that going to be. None of us know for sure. It changes daily as far as what we think it's going to be, but obviously without the medication available, we're in a bit of a standstill there. Are you talking about crystal ball type stuff, looking ahead to the new normal at all, in terms of how clients may want techs in their home even after we were kind of past this initial shutdown? I mean, I'm hearing about no handshakes in society anymore, for one, and then there's masks and gloves and that type of thing. You think that's going to continue?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everybody's afraid. I mean, it's invisible. I mean, you just don't know, and that's the problem. It's everybody's afraid. How many times you're watching your hands every day. And, you touch a doorknob and you're like, man, I better go wash my hands. It's a horrible situation, and we're all in it. We all live it. We all probably been through the thought, what if my mother gets it, and she's older, and, what if my wife gets it? I mean, those kind of thoughts, kind of can be overwhelming, but we push through. And I think, the new normal is going to be very new, and we will have to adapt our businesses. Two-man trucks are going to be one-man trucks.
Right.
You're going to, right now, why do you have insurance on a truck that's sitting right now? I mean, there's a lot of things you can do short-term to save money, but I agree with you, Jeremy. When it opens up, and it will open up, and whether it's testing or therapeutic, eventually, we'll have, we'll take a shot and we'll be fine. But in the meantime, there is such a pent-up demand. I think we're really, really, really going to be busy. My fear is that, it could come back again. And,
yeah,
you go to the theater, somebody sneezes, everybody leaves.
Right.
Somebody coughs, everybody leaves the theater. You go we have events scheduled. Typically, we get 250 people. How big of a room do you need to get people 6 feet apart to handle 250 people? So that those meetings will all change. The way we do things change forever. Just like, somebody tampered with what was it, a Bayer aspirin bottle, and now they're all sealed. We had airplanes crash into the World Trade Center, and now we have much more security. This is another one of those evolutions, and we will adapt. We won't shake hands. But we will adapt.
I mean, I personally, I've been talking to enough people that really think that this is the turning point for remote technology, remote service capabilities. Like, the truck roll, to minimize that truck roll. We've been saying it forever. It's just like a killer for a business, cost wise. So let's get rid of that. Let's do as much remotely as we can, and you keep the client from being nervous about, having someone in their home. There's going to be big installs that you have to do in person, obviously, but it seems like this is just like a turning point for that technology. People haven't embraced it yet.
Security cameras, or, everybody's crime is up right now. I mean, it's down and it's up. Robberies are up, but there's less people on the street. So, there'll be a infrastructure, all that, cameras are going to be huge. Security, obviously networks. An executive goes from his office and has a really secure network and goes into his home. It's not the same. I think outdoor music right now is going to be huge. How about everybody who thought about doing a home theater who didn't do one? And now, they're at home and they're like, why didn't we do that theater? And boom, and then if it comes back again. I mean, the impetus, I think it's a waterfall, it's an avalanche of business is going to happen short term. And hopefully, it's not a W. But if it is a W, boy, they're back in the house again. That's going to be even more stressful, I think, than now. So people are going to want to, this whole nesting, cocooning thing, that's going to be with us for a long, long time, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And as we were talking before we started the call, my family, we're home together. I worked from home before this happened, but now they're all home, and we all report to our corners of the house. And but yet at the end of the day, we tend to need an escape from each other, and to have separate, places to go. And I have a basement home theater I'm grateful for. Yeah. And there are certain days when I just know I'm not a good person to be around because it's backed up on me for some reason. It happens to all of us. We have our fill of this stay at home thing, and to go down and watch a bunch of Netflix shows is the only thing that gets me through. Speaking of which, are you a TV movie guy or more into music and books? And
I went to graduate school for theater. My undergraduate, I was in business administration. I actually ran the theater. We used to show movies on Sunday nights at Villanova. I ran the projectors. I had a scholarship to do that. So, I've been a movie guy all my life, and I'm trying to get others my wife and daughter to watch some of the old movies. I got them to watch Blow Up, Michelangelo Antonioni movie.
yeah.
So they hate me now, but it's an interesting time. Netflix has been great. We have, our virtual vendor fireside today, and one of the questions, we're going to do a poll. I want to know how many people have watched Tiger King.
Right.
Whether they liked it or not, did you watch it? So
Sure.
that's going around. I watched this one called The Pharmacist last night. You have to break it up. We're playing games and cards and things like that. Luckily, my wife's a great cook, so that's I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, that's good to have for sure. We're trying to support local businesses once a week, but it's such a hassle when you get carry out or delivery and you have to wipe everything down, and it's like, I know it's first world problems, but it just, it's such a, like a worry that you're going to get infected just by trying to do something, out of the house. So we tend to cook a lot at home, and that's been good as well for us.
Going out to dinner is not the same. It's taking out from a restaurant, but it's it breaks it up. I agree with you. We've done it a few times. It's not the same. I usually clock about 100,000 miles a year on airplanes, and I haven't been on an airplane for, I don't know, 6 weeks now. And I went to the first 2 tech summits down in Florida, of which one of our vendors had the coronavirus, and I shook his hand, and luckily there was no issue. But that's the last time I was on a plane. I can't wait to get back on a plane. I can't wait to be in a hotel room and have a meeting again. I just canceled our key leaders meetings. We have 2 meetings, one for operations and one for marketing scheduled. 60 people and 6 vendors. They were in Chicago.
Yeah.
I can't do them. They were early June. They're canceled.
What are the chances of the July rescheduling actually happening for you?
Well, we flipped our contract to June 30th to July 2nd for our spring meeting, same hotel. And I don't know how it's possible. I mean, I would love to have the meeting. I'd love to go to Florida. It's a gorgeous hotel. It's a Hyatt Regency in Coconut Point, Bonita Springs, between Naples and Fort Myers. It's beautiful. We've been there twice before. Lovely. But I just don't see how we can get a couple hundred people, 1, on airplanes. They're probably still nervous. 2, in the facilities, how do you accommodate social distancing? Are we going to test everybody? First of all, we can't get the tests. We're going to take their temperature. There's just so many impediments. And regretfully, I have a contract, and there's a clause in there that if we cancel the meeting, we're liable for basically half of the expenses. It's close to $150,000.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, but we have a meeting scheduled for Washington D.C. 2 nights and 3 days again. Members go free, and I don't know if that's going to happen. I have a contract for a restaurant to accommodate everybody, and I'm kind of sitting on my desk waiting to, do I take a chance that our October conference in Washington is going to happen? I really don't know.
I know, it's like we keep everything at sort of, everyone says day at a time, but I'm still kind of looking like, can we get to May? Are things going to improve? And now it's kind of looking like it's more of the same, but maybe is June going to be improving? And I don't expect big events yet, but at least something's going to maybe change, just to have some hope out there. But God, if we get to the fall and there's no change, that's going to be rough. And it could be just like you said, the bounce back problem could happen then as well, because it's getting to be that season. So,
You know, they say it's peaked, Jeremy, or peaking right now.
yeah,
There's a 500,000 expectation of 500,000 people getting the virus. I mean, that's an enormous number. You have 330 million Americans. I mean, it's approaching 2%. I mean, you know, that's a lot of people. And then, and people are dying. So,
yeah,
you know, it's not fun times. The good news is that we bring people pleasure. We make their environments better. We are something that I think, you know, is essential for people to, you know, if you're going to have your life disrupted, then let's be comfortable while we're disrupted. Let's surround ourselves with things that, like, you know, my wife and I slow danced the other night. At home, I can't tell you, you know, we put on a Nat King Cole song that was our wedding song, and we actually slow danced. I mean, you have to do kind of things like that. You have to, whatever possessed us to put Nat King Cole on. I haven't heard Nat King Cole in 20 years, you know, but we did, and I think you have to do things like that to mix it up, and it was spontaneous. It just kind of happened.
that's great. That's really a good note to end on, Richard. I really appreciate your perspective on things, and you taking the time out of your schedule. I know that you're communicating with your group so much, and I'm glad you're able to chat with us today. So before I let you go, if anyone wanted to reach out directly to you or even learn about joining the group, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I think, you know, we're all about communication, so you can call the number 610-280-3840, pretty easy. You can email me or Patrick McCarthy. I'm Richard at AzioneGroup.com. Patrick is Patrick at AzioneGroup.com. So, you know, call us up, we'll talk about it. We have a great group of dealers, we have great vendors, and, you know, we're here to help.
Well, thanks, Richard. Really appreciate it. Great talking to you.
You too, Jeremy. Thank you. Let's see. Be safe. Right?
You too.
Okay.
Residential tech talk.
We really appreciate it, and thanks everyone for joining us today on Residential Tech Talks. Have a great day.